Hello everybody, welcome to MSI, which stands for Murders She Investigated. I'm Zoe. This is the second video for the MH370 series that in total consists of 15 videos. If you are new to MSI, you are invited to subscribe this channel. In this video, we are going to review events or procedures that took place prior to the disappearance of MH370. Particular attention will be given to details relevant to the MH370 incident. Let's begin with some background information. In 2014, MH370 was a Malaysia Airlines routine flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. The aircraft involved in the MH370 incident was a Boeing 777-200 model. According to the Boeing company's specs, the service ceiling for this particular model is 43,100 feet. It was March 7, 2014, at Kuala Lumpur International Airport, around 23:30 Malaysia time. Passengers holding their boarding passes lined up in front of gate C1. Before continuing our review, let me make a note here. Throughout this MH370 series, whenever a time is mentioned, it refers to Malaysia time, unless otherwise stated. At Gate C1, two Malaysia Airlines staff behind the counter were attending their customers. One of the staff took each passenger's boarding pass, swiped it through a reading gadget, and then returned the pass to the passenger. One by one, all passengers' passes were checked as they boarded the MH370 flight. On the other side of the gate C1, a Boeing 777 was parked at the apron. Inside the cockpit, two flight crew were busy preparing for the journey. They were the 53-year-old pilot, Zahari Shah, and the 27-year-old co-pilot, Farid Ahmed. Zahari was a veteran pilot with 33 years of flight experience. Farid was new to the Boeing 777. In this particular flight, Zahari had an extra assignment. That was to review Farid's piloting performance for the purpose of Farid's certification. It was arranged earlier that, leading up to the takeoff, Zahari would be responsible for piloting the aircraft, while Farid would be responsible for the radio communications. From the point of takeoff onward, their roles would be reversed. At the airport apron, there were also technicians and ground personnel servicing the aircraft. Some were fueling the aircraft, others were loading luggage and cargo. On the surface, things appeared to be moving along in a typical orderly fashion. It seemed like business as usual. In fact, there were two things out of the ordinary, but nobody seemed to notice them at the time. One thing unusual was the extra jet fuel added to the aircraft. Another thing odd was there was a passenger who had reported to the check-in counter and had checked the luggage. This passenger however, missed the boarding at Gate C1. After the MH370 incident happened, Malaysia Airlines insisted this passenger was on board. But how could that be? At 00:26 minutes, March 8th, the flight was ready to begin its journey. Farik used the radio to inform the airport ATC and requested a flight level of 350. The request was granted. A few minutes later, MH370 was pushed away from the apron. At the same time, the in-flight supervisor made an announcement that the plane would take off soon. He asked everybody on board to turn off his or her cell phone. Zahari started the engines and piloted the aircraft along the taxiway. At 00:36 minutes, MH370 stopped at the end of a taxiway, waiting for instructions from the airport ATC to enter the runway. At 00:38 minutes, MH370 was instructed to line up on the runway. Zahari followed the instruction, piloted the aircraft onto the runway, and lined up for taking off. At this point, Zahari and Farik were to switch roles, where Zahari would be in charge of the radio communications, and Farik would perform takeoff procedures and fly the aircraft. As soon as Zahari lined up the aircraft, his cell phone rang. It was a call from WeChat. When Zahari finished his WeChat conversation, it was 00:40 minutes. At 00:40 and 37 seconds, the airport ATC gave MH370 clearance to take off. Farik acknowledged the takeoff instruction using radio transmission. Something was curious here. According to the prior arrangement, it should be Zahari making the acknowledgement. Why wasn't Zahari on the radio? Was Zahari not in the cockpit? If so, why not? Even more curious, MH370 did not take off immediately upon instruction. It maintained where it was until 00:42 and 44 seconds. That amounted to a 3-minute pause on the runway. For those in the industry, it is common knowledge that once an aircraft lines up on the runway, it should take off within seconds for safety reasons. Usually, the maximum allowance for an aircraft on a runway is 90 seconds. Yet, MH370 spent at least 3 minutes on the runway. MH370 finally took off. It was 00:42 and 44 seconds, March 8, 2014. On the screen is a figure in which the red line indicated the MH370 flight route to Beijing. According to the MH370 final report, Zahari's first radio communication was at 00:42 and 50 seconds. He reported to the ground that MH370 had departed. In other words, the air-ground radio communications were handled by Farik until after MH370 takeoff. As Farik piloted the climbing aircraft, Zahari communicated with the Lumpur ATC properly. At 01:01 and 17 seconds, MH370 reached its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. As expected, Zahari reported to the Lumpur ATC that flight level 350 had been reached. At 0107 and 56 seconds, MH370 reported flight level 350 to the ground again. The MH370 final report acknowledged that Zahari double reported, but dismissed any significance. At 01:19:26 seconds, when MH370 was 8.6 nautical miles to waypoint IGARI, the Lumpur ATC radioed MH370 to contact Ho Chi Minh ATC using frequency 120.9. According to the MH370 final report, Zahari responded with, quote, "Good night, Malaysia 370, unquote. That was reported to be the last time the world heard from Zahari, and Ho Chi Minh City ATC was never contacted by MH370. In addition to the radio communication, MH370 was also equipped with a satellite communication system using Inmarsat satellites. The system was set up to transmit ACARS reports to Malaysia Airlines every 30 minutes during the flight. However, Malaysia Airlines received an ACARS report from MH370 at 01 and 7 minutes, and no more afterwards. In the early morning of March 8th, at the Lumpur ATC, a radar screen showed MH370 was approaching and then passing waypoint IGARI. Beyond the waypoint IGARI, MH370 became the responsibility of Ho Chi Minh ATC. As mentioned earlier, at 01:19 and 26 seconds, the Lumpur ATC had radioed and instructed MH370 to contact Ho Chi Minh ATC. Then, nobody at the Lumpur ATC monitored the radar screen for MH370. At 01:20 and 36 seconds, MH370's symbol quietly disappeared from the radar screen. Nobody in the Lumpur ATC noticed. What caused the disappearance of the MH370 symbol? Experts subsequently believed that someone in the cockpit turned off the transponder. If so, who turned the transponder off? Why? Did MH370 disappear at about 01 and 20 minutes when the transponder was turned off? Not really. The MH370 final report says Malaysia's military radar caught an aircraft making a U-turn near the waypoint IGARI. That aircraft was likely to be MH370. Immediately after the MH370 incident, words were widely spread that during the U-turn, the aircraft flew as if it was a fighter jet. It first climbed up to 43,000 feet, and then dropped its altitude to 31,000 feet. If so, why? What happened in the cockpit? According to the MH370 final report, off and on, the military radar continued noticing that particular aircraft for approximately 60 minutes. After the U-turn, the aircraft flew southwest in a zigzag pattern along Malaysia's border adjacent to Thailand. It then reached the sky above the Malacca Strait, south of Penang, where it turned again and flew northwest. The Malaysia Air Force claimed it finally lost sight of the plane at 02 and 22 minutes because it flew out of the radar range. The dotted line shown on the screen is the MH370 diversion route claimed by the Malaysia government. Many wondered why the Malaysia Air Force not dispatch its fighters to intercept the aircraft. The Malaysia Air Force responded by saying that they did not dispatch fighters because they perceived no threat from the aircraft. How did the Malaysia Air Force know the plane posed no threat? In any event, according to the MH370 final report, MH370 officially disappeared at 02 and 22 minutes on March 8, 2014. This is all for the disappearance of MH370. If you are new to MSI and find the odd scenarios pointed out in this video intriguing, you are invited to subscribe this channel. If you are already a subscriber, a thumb up is appreciated. Feel free to share this channel with others. The MH370 incident deserves everybody's attention worldwide for the sake of air traveling safety. All questions raised in this video will be looked into and answered in subsequent videos. Next time, the video will be about the event following the disappearance of MH370. In addition to Malaysia government, various parties from various countries react differently. Actions speak loud and clear. You be the judge. See you next time.